In this age of idiocy we reside in, the general populace is undeniably more divided than ever. Right versus left, black versus white, and with a widespread popularity of whatever wave of feminism we're currently in, and the red pill ideology, men versus women. The two sides are currently in a bloodbath of contention, but beneath the fervent opposition, the feminists and the red pillars are far more similar than meets the eye. The red pill is used to refer to a process by which a person's perspective is dramatically transformed, introducing them to a new and typically disturbing understanding of the true nature of a particular situation. Fourth wave feminism is a movement that began around 2012 and is characterized by a focus on the empowerment of women, the use of internet tools, and intersectionality. The fourth wave seeks greater gender equality by focusing on gendered norms and the marginalization of women in society. However, in our current world, both of these definitions have almost exclusively become tied to dating, the sexual marketplace, and modern gender roles. Now, based on these definitions, both of these movements sound extremely positive and infinitely beneficial for society at large. I mean, being privy to the truth, the empowerment of the ladies, and gender equality? It almost sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Let's go back to the beginning. Many moons ago, somewhere in the mid-2010s, the popularity of dating apps grew, proliferating hookup culture like the world had never seen before. Radical feminism saw an opening in the culture to fully infiltrate the zeitgeist, and it wrapped its cold hand around the minds of young women, encouraging them to liberate themselves through their sexuality, and the women did just that. Ready, willing, and able to entertain their carnal pleasures, they indulged. Some reveled in the hedonism, but most found trauma, misery, and a deep hatred for the men they went to bed with. The guys the women went for made up the top 10% of men. Bad boys with no moral compass, men with security, money, and status, and the most insidious of them all, tatted, 6'3" light-skinned fuckboys with diamond earrings. These so-called men developed an entire new genre of scumbaggery, sleeping with women left and right, deceiving them, and promising a potential future, only to leave the women on red the following day and move on to the next woman susceptible enough to fall for their trickery. The 90% of men became overwhelmed with anger, unsure why the women they wanted would fall for assholes and playboys and wouldn't pay them any mind. Thus, the red pill was born. A tool bestowed unto men that taught them the forbidden truths of male and female nature in the modern sexual marketplace. Finally, the lonely men had a solution to rid them of their turmoil. Only the red pill was mutilated and corrupted more quickly than modern feminism. Dating podcasts emerged, blatant misogyny began to run rampant, and the majority of men became sex-deprived, depressed, and disillusioned with the modern dating market, and subscribed to OnlyFans accounts or joined the MGTOW movement. Men and women continued to drift apart from one another, and now are closer to mortal enemies than anything else. How far are we fallen? Online feminist and red pill content are some of the easiest hustles in the world. It seems as if in the past year or so, the entire internet has been taken by storm by clips from the Fresh and Fit or whatever podcast, Sneeko screaming about fake eyelashes and falling out of his chair, and Andrew Tate being, well, Andrew Tate. The longer form video essay social commentary and streaming space has exponentially grown as well, and is absolutely dominated by unentertaining, uncharismatic leftists who espouse the most frigid, politically correct, and excruciatingly safe takes I've ever heard in my life, that honestly have never made me once think about anything other than putting a desert eagle down my throat. The vast majority of the internet, and honestly many people in the real world, have been radicalized beyond repair by these ideas, and every day it seems as if there's a new creator capitalizing off of this division. Every single Noah Samson, Nick is not green, FD Signifier, or Hassan Piker video is titled something along the lines of "The dumbest alpha male on TikTok? This podcast is misogynistic," or "Conservatives don't strip naked in the streets and rail twinks like the bisexual socialist god that I am." Hassan's content can be summed up as,
Wait. Literally, dude, he's transphobic.
My issue as a trans person is the fact that you, a guy that isn't super well versed on trans shit, brought on a known transphobe knowing he might bring up transphobic shit. You aren't exactly a Vosh at trans debates. I hope that the rest of your life is as horrible as it is every single day. Okay? There you go. I despise you more than anything else on the planet.
The audience that comprise these fan bases are 14-year-old they-thems on every pharmaceutical in the book, pretending they're cupiosexual and advocate for communism while living in a mansion, sanctimonious white liberals that don't give a fuck about anything but appearing virtuous in the eyes of POCs, and people who like comforting, soft content, and even softer people that make them feel good about themselves and reaffirm all of their biases and incorrect assertions about the world. And these videos are receiving ridiculous amounts of views and positive engagement, so why would any of the content creators stop what they're doing? Even though I've never seen a single effective or convincing takedown of the red pill ideology from a single one of these people. I'm sorry guys, but
he said that all women aren't goddesses. He's misogynistic.
he's not dismantling the red pill. On the other side of the coin, the red pill audience is generally made up of men who were never able to get over their high school girlfriend breaking up with them, bitter men, young and old, who love seeing women being told that they'll die alone with 10 Cats by Myron Gaines, massive losers, and 14-year-old boys who saw a Sigma male edit about the Matrix for the first time, who are attempting to vicariously live through Andrew and Tristan Tate. Every thumbnail is, Bimbo 304 learns the hard truth about her value being in the gutter by 23 years old. Justin Waller brutally shuts up delusional OnlyFans feminists with a hard dose of logical reality. Or, modern women in the West don't have brain cells. And people eat this shit up. And just like on the liberal and feminist side, people on the right want to be cozy, reaffirmed, and fucking blinded by homogenous opinions inside of their idiotic little safe space bullshit echo chambers. Why do men and women always have to be in competition with each other? Every day there are grown adults on the internet constantly talking about how it's harder for me. No, it's harder for me. Men are better drivers than women. No, we're better drivers. You're all in second grade. These females have it easier because they're born with their beauty, and that's where their value comes from. First of all, as a man, do you want that for yourself? Isn't it your masculine imperative to create value within the world and earn your keep based off of that hard work?
As a man, if you don't make yourself valuable, you have no value. You have to get up and do it.
Most figures within the red pill space share the opinion that it's a curse to be born rich because you have nothing to work towards.
I wish I could feel as safe as a man walking alone at night.
There's so much wrong with that statement, but even if it were true, is that the privilege men have that you're the most jealous of? Walking alone at night? First of all, we live in America. We literally don't even have walkable cities. What the hell are you talking about?
We need more female CEOs.
Yeah, sure, I guess. But once again, do you actually want to be a CEO? You really want to work 80 hours a week minimum, have no social life whatsoever just so you can run a company that's selling falsely advertised products that are probably killing people with processed sugar and seed oils, and underpay your employees just so you can show men that you can do anything that they can? Wow. Speaking of which, let's talk about jobs. Generally speaking, men and women have different aptitudes for different careers based on differences in biology, interest, etc. But before any of you come out and say, but the social constructions have forced men and women to go in a specific careers. Shut up, Scandinavia. Take a look. Anyway, men love to go on about how we occupy all of the most dangerous and high-stress occupations. Yeah, sure. But stop painting this picture of superiority, because the men who work these jobs are fucking built for it. Let's not pretend the majority of male history isn't us murdering each other in war. To a degree, the demand for combat and physical exertion is a predicate of male nature. And by the way, I'm not saying there aren't any muscle mommies out there, because there absolutely are, but those guys out there who are on the oil rigs, working construction construction and laying the bricks are the real fucking deal. Without them, society would fall to pieces. But put these same men in a female-dominated field, like an elementary school classroom, and have them teach, you'll quickly realize the degree of difficulty that job entails. Kids that age are assholes, man, and the women that deal with them are saints. Nursing is another occupation that is overwhelmingly dominated by women, and the ladies in the ER tirelessly dealing with the physically injured, the mentally unstable, and in many cases literal lunatics every day couldn't be in a more demanding and high-stress job. Yet somehow, the people are all taken care of, because the level of peace, comfort, and loving nurture a real woman can bring to other humans is a legitimate superpower and far greater than any man's ability to offer those same qualities. I used to work at a grocery store, and I met a woman who we'll call Selena. Selena was easily one of, if not the most empathetic, kind, caring person I've ever met in my life, and emanated with this womanly presence of comfort I haven't felt since. If you were in a full-on war zone and saw the nuclear bombs falling from the sky, if Selena was by your side, you would convince yourself that everything was going to be just fine. Honestly, in my mind, there is not a single greater thing in this world than the presence of a truly amazing woman. When you have the chance to be around a woman who is genuinely kind, resilient, grounded, with a strong mind and a nurturing heart, you'll quickly realize that almost everything else pales in comparison. Honestly, I believe that we've collectively lost focus on trying to be decent human beings before anything else, and instead have hyper-focused on our masculinity and femininity to justify heinous behavior. Well, I'm a man, and there's no possible way I could ever control my sexual urges because that's just the way I'm biologically wired.
Well, I'm a woman. And we're more emotional, so I have an excuse to break down in confrontations and verbally insult people.
If anything, it would be exactly the opposite. One of the definitive characteristics of a man, according to Andrew Tate himself, is
not wanting to do something, but still doing it anyway.
It's called discipline. It's called being a man. It's not about feeling like doing it. If you only do things you feel like doing, you know what you end up doing? What? You end up sitting around with a belly drinking soya fucking latte bullshit.
And I completely agree with them, within reason, of course. A strong man does not succumb to his hedonistic urges. But of course, when it comes to women, the red pill preaches exactly the opposite.
We tell men to suppress their urges. Fuck that shit. I don't become successful, make money, acquire the status to fuck one bitch. That's stupid.
You're stupid. And as a lady, if you're supposedly more in touch with your emotions, you would be far more apt at controlling them and articulating them effectively. But instead of doing the hard work, everyone on both sides just says,
but it's too hard. I want to blame the 304s and the patriarchy for all of my problems.
No wonder why so many people are becoming misandrous and misogynist by the fucking day. Goodness. Red pillars love to talk about how these 304s have caused the destruction of the West. However, they consistently complain about the hypergamous nature of women, yet they want to become the exact type of man that only a hypergamous woman would want. These men aspire to attain the yacht, the money, status, etc., but who the fuck do you think likes those things? Hoes. Although provisioning and providing resources is extremely important as a man, the type of man who flaunts his wealth, makes his Rolexes his entire personality, and completely and utterly commodifies himself is not a man that a woman of substance would ever be attracted to. Very quickly, back to women destroying the West and their unrealistic expectations, delusion, and promiscuity. All of you red pillars live in the most godless Sodom and Gomorrah-esque cities in the world, Miami and Las Vegas, and actively take part in the hedonistic and depraved culture that you think is going to lead to America's downfall. Once again, Andrew Tate makes the incredibly salient point that money amplifies and makes you more of what you already are.
But money is nothing more than an amplifier. Money doesn't change who you are. And the problem with most of these crypto dorks is that they were dorks and now they're rich dorks, but you're still a dork.
An example that I would use is
Steiny from Nelk. He's got all the money in the world, but he's a fucking worm. Steiny. Ugh.
If he didn't have that money or that status, he would be the biggest incel of all time. On the other side of that coin, my best friend is not a clout demon in any capacity with a Bugatti and literally doesn't even have social media, but he's been able to attract some immeasurably quality women because his character, personality, intelligence, charm, and individuality are unmistakable. And of course, none of these red pill gurus push any of these qualities. Instead, they say, get more money and status and you'll get the girl. Oh, the type of girl that you despise and didn't even want you until you had the money. Great choice. Great life decisions. Could you people be any more fucking retarded? And you get mad at the girls in your life for being dumb, hypergamous cheaters with no substance whatsoever as a person? Sounds awfully familiar. Well, take a look in the fucking mirror. In the same way that red pillers say women become the man that they want to be with, these high-value men share an overwhelming amount of qualities with the women they dislike. But for some reason, they're always surrounded by them, whether it be on these podcasts, Instagram DMs, or even dating them long-term.
It's a little date, zoo date, you feel me? Make it work.
You truly are a sum of the people that you spend the most time around. And if you're dating girls that used to be on OnlyFans, that are currently sugar babies, or Miami 304s, what does that say about you as a person? I'll let you guys figure that one out. One of the most prominent and ludicrous aspects of the red pill is the idea of the one-sided open relationship, where the man can cheat and the woman can't. These guys constantly say they could go out and fuck some bitch without having any feelings whatsoever towards that woman, and go home to their girl without any of their feelings for that girl changing. Which, honestly, it's disgusting, but I'll admit it, for most men it is probably true. But generally speaking, women only sleep with guys they're interested in on an emotional level. And no woman, I repeat, no woman is happy with you cheating on her. Because the only way she would cheat on her man is if she has a deeper emotional connection with another guy than the man that she's seeing. Studies have shown that women's attraction for men increases when other women are into that man, but if the man entertains those women, all hell will break loose with that woman that loves you. When a woman has genuine burning desire for you, if you accidentally dream about another woman, she'll feel as if you committed infidelity, because that woman only has eyes for you, and she wants that to be reciprocated. And if you genuinely do love a woman, even if you can go out and fuck that hoe, you understand how brutal of an emotional effect your actions have on the woman that you love, and that alone should dissuade you from seeing and sleeping around, because the reality of looking at your girl's face and you see the misery, you see the trauma, all because of you, should fucking crush you if you adore her enough. Look, that's what love is. Respect for your partner, compromise. And honestly, I believe if you love someone enough, even if you are attracted to another woman and lust after her, you would never do anything with that woman because the romance you share with the lady in your life is priceless. And speaking of lovely ladies, there's a woman by the name of Lila Rose who was on the Whatever podcast who makes some great points relating to this idea.
Can I ask you one more question?
Fire away, honey.
Okay. If you have only one place in your heart for one woman, or you want to have one woman in your heart, I think you said, why don't you just commit to one and choose to be faithful to her?
I'm just not wired that way. I spent my whole 20s trying to fix myself. Thought something was wrong with me.
You're a man of self-control. You work out, you do business.
Yeah.
You can possess your own power and direct it the way you want to direct it.
It's not how I am.
You think that might be a limited mindset?
I think it's none of your business, but I don't want you to think I'm triggered by you. I'm not.
Okay.
I saw somebody say that, and I think that's interesting. I think you're annoying, but I'm not triggered.
Even Sneeko, of all people, has realized the shortcomings of the red pill early because he's not still mad at some girl who broke his heart in high school, and attracting women has never really been a problem for him. So many men who love the red pill are buying into these ideas of becoming a high-value man to fuck hoes because they have no women around them whatsoever, which has not been the case for our friend Sneeko. He's beginning to see the value in family and genuinely meaningful relationships, which are undeniably one of, if not the most important aspect of your immediate life.
The first three is weird because then I don't even know what the red pill idea of a high value man is. Is it just being rich? Like, what's the point of having all this money and not having a family? Why be that rich? The guy who's always grinding. Whoa, Brandon Carter doesn't have to do his laundry. Sick. What else are you going to do with your life?
Which, strangely enough, are talking points that many of the red pill adjacent figures espouse.
Ask your own mother, do you regret having me? She's going to say, of course not. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. So now you're going to sit here and you're going to end your own bloodline? All the times your grandparents went to work when they didn't feel like it, just for you to exist, for your selfish ass to say, no, me and my passions and my dreams and my shit drawings and my Instagram page is worth more than ever having children. You're a selfish fuck.
But it isn't very strange, is it? Because a myriad of feminists do the same. One way or another, I truly do believe all roads lead to family and relationships being the most important aspect of one's life, and everything else pales in comparison. There is little to no productive discourse between red pillers and feminists within the mainstream, outside of one person who is trying his best to bridge the gap between these opposing sides, or is just the biggest contrarian and attention whore of all time, Destiny. Think what you want about Destiny, but I personally like him, even though he'll argue that the sky isn't as blue as his hair, loves fucking hoes even though he's married, and lets some of the most deranged and idiotic people into his life I've ever seen. But honestly, I can't hate too much, as ABBA and Not So Erudite are also his friends, who in my estimation are two of the last sane content creators on the entirety of the internet. Anyway, Destiny is the sole creator on the platform who actively engages with opposing ideology and has a convincing counter and doesn't completely throw the other side's argument in the trash. He generates an unbelievable amount of viewership when he appears on these red pill podcasts, and although many of the commenters don't agree with him, they revere him for showing up and being somewhat charitable within these discussions and meeting people where they're at. In that regard, I have immeasurable respect for Destiny, as he is willing to go against the grain of leftism and not only interact with the opposition, but acknowledge their issues as well. And that's what leads to a discussion of differing viewpoints where you can actually make a little bit of fucking progress. It's time to bring out the delusion calculator, because both the red pillars and modern feminists are living in it. The men want a 20-year-old who is essentially a virgin, and these women want a man who earns 6 figures, is over 6 feet, and has a 6-inch dick.
Ideally, my husband needs to be making like $650,000.
Let's look at the conclusive data. Oh, you're all living in a fantasy land. And even if you were able to have your dream virgin 18-year-old or your 8-figure rich nigga that's my type kind of guy, I promise you don't want that. Look, I'm not knocking older men being attracted to younger women and vice versa, but you do realize that most 19-year-olds know absolutely nothing about the world and will say the dumbest shit known to man on a daily basis.
The only good thing about dating a 20-year-old is when they talk, you don't really have to listen because you know you're not missing anything important. When we are 20, like, what important thought have you had? Nothing.
That's a person you want to spend substantial time around? Also, you red pillars frequently mention that you would date a girl that works at Starbucks. No, you wouldn't, because none of you are. And outside of your ridiculous exceptions,
You're making an argument for the exception. When you say not all, fantastic, but you're speaking about a small demographic, which is what? Statistically insignificant.
what young beautiful woman is going to be working at Starbucks when TikTok, Instagram, modeling, and Hollywood exist? Studies show that most men and women usually date within their socioeconomic status. Goodness, I sound so annoying bringing up all of these statistics and data.
Here's the data on the top.
It's garbage, but you know. And ladies, once again, the rich guy is going to be ridiculously focused on his career above all else, and is going to have young, beautiful women in his DMs constantly. According to the Red Pill, men are at their peak in their mid-30s when they are immensely accomplished within their career, and women are at their peak in their late teens and very early 20s as they are beautiful and sexually pure. These are the groups of people in society who have access to the largest dating pool, the most DMs, and a completely unrealistic worldview, because of the constant attention both parties receive. So why the fuck do you think it's a good idea for a young, beautiful woman and a high-value man to start a relationship? There are a myriad of studies, once again, that suggest the wealthier a man is, the more likely infidelity is to occur. And use some common sense. The men are choosing women who have Future and Chris Brown in their DMs, and you expect them to be loyal and wife material? You're all delusional. Men and women are just so wrong about their temperaments nowadays. These red pill women are promoting a stay-at-home, married lifestyle, yet they're on the internet debating blue-haired betas and feminists on a daily basis. Most of them are disagreeable, career women, and most importantly, single. Men are supposedly stoic.
That's why they come in this fucking podcast, act crazy, say the dumb shit that they say. I tell them, yo, you gotta leave. Bitches still sitting here and commit.
They don't argue, they're strong, they don't get in their feelings, they endure hardship, etc.
If there's someone that's very, very young and goes into a marriage and has kids when they're like 18, 19, 20, a year into the relationship, it gets really, really abusive. Even though it might be rare from what you guys think.
It is.
If it would happen, what would you recommend for those people? Would they divorce, or do you want them to keep going in the relationship?
Keep going. You can't divorce. That's not a real thing.
Even though it might be like physically abusive?
You got to endure.
You think
Endure.
so?
I'll tell
Would
you
they
what.
give up
I'll tell you
divorce?
what.
Anything you would like to say before you do?
I got nothing to say. I'm out.
See? My point.
They also claim to be in touch with their faith, especially Islam, yet make fun of women for being born-again Christians, saying they still belong to the streets, while having an entire YouTube channel promoting the most haram behavior of all time. Myron from Fresh and Fit says, before you want to settle down with a woman, you want to sleep with at least 50 women minimum.
Had slept with at least 50 women.
To understand their nature. Look, I totally agree that you need to understand female nature so you don't get played in the future, but you don't have to sleep with 50 women to differentiate between a hoe and a housewife. And the reality is, a truly respectable woman is not settling down with a playboy. I want to go back to these feminine men and masculine women that are supposedly destroying the framework of society. And I don't believe that's the case at all. Collectively as a country, men and women have become weak, entitled, dishonest, hedonistic, attention-seeking, overcompensating assholes, which I believe all stems from insecurity. That's what's destroying the country. I see no problem whatsoever with a man who is more of a feminine temperament or a woman who is more of a masculine temperament at all. If said men and women are kind-hearted, strong-willed, honest, hardworking, loving people who don't believe the world revolves around them. At the end of the day, men, would you like to see some more stoicism in women? I know I would. And women, how about some more emotional intelligence in men? I'm signing off on that. I personally believe we need to eschew the idea of high-value men and women and focus on becoming a high-value person. Someone who possesses emotional and mental fortitude, rationale, the capacity to truly love, kindness, nurture, authenticity, style, and the will to keep pushing through this decrepit hellscape of a world we live in, is where I believe we should all start. To conclude my tirade, I say fuck the red pill and fuck modern day feminism. There's no long-term value in owning feminists, proving men you can make more money than them, or having an audience of 12-year-olds you radicalize and make money off of from Twitch donations or a fraudulent course you offer. Let's try and behave like human beings again, and come together as men and women in harmony. How about that?
Subscribe.